The biggest thing is probably not knowing what lever to pull.
What do you mean lever?
Pull the lever that gives you the most benefit. These guys are waking up in the morning to 18, 20 levers hitting them in the head. They're like, I don't know.
The beauty of the internet and the beauty of access to education and consultants and coaches and courses, there's a lot of different opportunity. There can be so many levers to pull that you end up pulling no lever. All right, guys, welcome back to the show here with one of our coaches, Coach Ron. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on, Andrew? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been working with the clients for a while now, and this would be the first time you've come on the podcast that I've been doing for quite some time, but I'm glad to have you here.
Cool. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. What are you seeing with clients? This is an interesting start of the year. I think there's a lot of interesting challenges happening, and we're seeing front hand working with men who are high performing guys, working through relationships, working through their purpose, their mission. Some of them are single, some of them have families and their children, and all aligned in wanting to become stronger, more grounded men and live in alignment to their values and vision.
Absolutely.
You're working directly every week with a group of men who show up every week to your calls, and they bring forth their challenges and you help them.
Everyone's got stuff. Everybody has things. In this day and age, you said it eloquently, like the time and place we live in now is tough. Now, you don't have to get into any left, right, up, down, rich, poor, anything to just take a look out the window, and things are just different. The world's changed, and good, bad, or indifferent, there's a lot of challenges out there. Challenges for men to be a man. There's stuff there. Now, not judging left or right, but there's just things that guys look at. And then challenges to how do I lead a family? How do I lead a grounded life? The biggest thing is probably not knowing what lever to pull.
What do you mean lever?
They wake up in the morning, and I know you have it in your program, but we teach this is pull the lever that gives you the most benefit. These guys are waking up in the morning to 18, 20 levers hitting them in the head. They're like, I don't know.
There's a lot of different opportunity. The beauty of the internet and the beauty of access to education and consultants and coaches and courses is that anything you want to do, you can do. It's no mystery. You can get direct access to people who are very successful, whether it be in real estate, whether it be in dating, whether it be in marriage, whether it be in anything that you want, AI, tech. And there's just so much good information available. So excited to subscribe to all this new stuff happening in tech, AI stuff, all this new software. You saw what happened with Sora, where you can type in really amazing video. Like that completely changes not just what I do with like creating content and YouTube videos, but that changes Hollywood. Like that changes massive industries. It's massive change. It feels to me like things are moving so quick and we can accomplish what we want. I feel like the listeners, I feel like especially our clients, high performing guys, these are guys who have done well in their lives and they're looking for that next level of fulfillment. They want to have balance. They want to have success. They want to have relationships. I feel that there can be so many levers to pull that you end up pulling no lever.
That's it. Paralysis by analysis. I see that all the time in the gentleman. What's the area where you see a commonality with the guys? I'm going to say it's discipline. I really am. We live in an era where everything's right now. Uber Eats, Uber Now, Uber Take Me, Uber Get Me, Uber Have It. Delayed gratification doesn't exist.
Yeah, the dating apps, not only Tinder, but there's all kinds of different apps that are allowing guys access to things that are instant dopamine.
Well, it's the dopamine, yes, and even food. Take me here, go here, learn stuff. I think the idea of setting a goal, putting it out there and being single-tracked or single-minded to reach that goal is a lost art in some ways, where guys are working on themselves. They're working on our modules. And I'll hear overwhelmingly, there's so much stuff to listen to. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah. It took a long time to get here, guys. It's going to take you a minute to get out of it, to get to where you want to be. Well, is there any way, and I hear this, how do you speed it up? Yeah, it's a direct reflection of our world. Can I just Uber eat it right now? Can I have it at my door tomorrow? When in reality, if they don't see that immediate result, like, oh man, it just didn't happen for me. It's just super hard. Where I try to go, guys, it's going to take a little bit. We have to reprogram some of those pathways in your brain that took you along, however y'all got here. You guys got here through Instagram, Facebook, word of mouth, friend, however you got here and the timeline it took to get here. It took you a minute to get to the point where you realized you needed some assistance. It's going to take a point to get out. And that's the speed of what I hate to say recovery, but the speed of getting to where your goals are is directly dependent on your ability to stay disciplined to the track you're on.
What do you think is throwing guys off of their discipline most?
A lot of times they'll get thrown into social situations because a lot of gentlemen that we have on here, as we all know, I mean, the people closest to us are the ones that can get at us the most, right? The spouses, significant other, kids, parents, good friends. They could be highly successful and high performing in business and other aspects of their life and then have serious, significant relationship problems or problems with their kids. And that throws them off. As soon as they're on track, like, hey, I want to perform better. I want to be more disciplined. I want to think things through more carefully, be less affective what people think of me and find what truly brings me joy and happiness. And then they'll have someone who's relatively close to them throw them off.
How so?
Instant dopamine hits. Vices are big. Hey, man, nothing's working and everything sucks and things aren't working. And they immediately go back to the vice. Porn, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is. This idea that they're so self-deprecating in nature, like, I can't do it. I've never told you might not fail a couple times. There's no guarantees in life. The idea with the discipline is I wasn't successful right now. I slipped up. I try to get guys to don't beat yourself up. You need to identify that you have an action, an activity or behavior to correct it and move forward. That's the discipline part that I think it is missing. It's missing. And I try to instill that, like, guys, it's okay. And I never make it okay. I'm not that coach. Everyone deserves a participation trophy, right? Yeah. Not everyone deserves a participation trophy. There is first, second, and not first and second, and you need to do better. Mm-hmm. But the idea that, hey, man, right, it wasn't successful this time. Hey, what do we do? Let's workshop that. Let's get a plan and move forward to correct it. And that's where they get, for lack of a better term, they just kind of fizzle out sometimes. And I tell that dedication and discipline is saying, I really want this. Guys, you all got here because you really wanted to change. And I'm telling you, and I'm not the smartest man in the room, but I've coached hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of guys now. The ones that are like, yeah, Ron, yeah, that was awful. And I don't like that. I don't want to be like that anymore. Now let's try this again. Let's get back on the horse and move forward in that direction. Whether it be working through the modules or staying on the calls, those are the guys that are successful. And all of it, I think underlying, they would relate at the end that it was a level of getting themselves their own level of self-discipline to getting back and staying on the program.
You brought something up earlier about guys who are really focused on work and they often tend to have challenges in relationships. That seems to be the common thread amongst, I would say, a lot of the clients of why they join. The guy could be single and just very successful, hardworking guy. He's just grinding, and he keeps putting off to when he's going to be ready to meet a partner or to date. And he has some limited experiences here and there, but he's just continuously focused on work and fitness in many cases. And he's doing really well. You also have a guy who is already married or in a long-term relationship, and he's doing the same thing. He's neglecting his relationship. He's hiding through work. And you can speak to this well. You have kids. What is that justification of like, well, I have kids, so I'm working hard. I'm trying to create a life that I did not have, it's like very difficult to go against that value.
That's a good fanboy. You brought up was a tough point for a lot of guys. And I have gone toe to toe with this exact scenario, I would say 25, 30 times. And to go toe to toe with the guy you're coaching, your client, right? I'm going to guide you, but you've got to take that initiative and impetus. So when they say I'm doing it for the family, I'm doing it, it's Protestant work ethic. Dad did it 67 years straight, never missed a day, and got a gold watch and died 2 weeks later. Universally, that same dad is one, that guy just all he did is worked his life away. Oh, I did it for my kids. This idea that you're doing it for your kids and sacrificing myself. I did that. 21 years married, 17 years as a physician, multiple clinics. I worked until my fingers bled and I hated every minute of it. And it resonated with my kids and my wife, now ex-wife. Now kids I see half time. I wasn't building a life for them. I was running away from the fact that I couldn't build an emotionally strong physical connection with a partner or a significant other. And that's what guys do. And I tell them that all the time. You're running away from it. There's no harder worker in the room than me, Ron. That's phenomenal, man. That's really good. Probably no one happier one either. Well, I don't understand that. You can have both, but you have to put energy to both. You talked about the young single guy, physically fit, active, what he wants. I just can't find the way to run. Can't find, or you're too afraid that the failures you've had in the past have led you to the idea that you're never going to find that person. Or if I just worked harder, magically the magic fairy will hit the dust and I'll have this magic person that plops in my lap. You have to work at it, right? I always say that. Being poor is hard. Being rich is hard. Being single is hard. Being married is hard. Just pick your heart. Guys, you have to want to improve those areas of your life, because I think a lot of us, if I just work harder, things will be better. I can't tell you how massively incorrect I found that, not myself alone, but with all the guys I've coached. Working hard is not a fault, gentlemen. But I will tell you, the idea that you're going to keep working harder and harder and harder because it's for someone or for something else at be out of your own happiness and well-being, you'll be that dad. I had that dad. Worked 45 years, owned companies, multimillionaire. Miserable human being right now, divorced. I watch my guys, the same thing, and I say, listen, history doesn't repeat itself, but often it looks familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And we fall into those traps sometimes. And when you said that, what happens with those guys? I ask them, what was your dad like? And they're like, oh yeah, almost universally. Oh, worked hard, hardest worker in the room. And they'll catch themselves mid-sentence. Yeah, you know, it takes some mental discipline to go, I don't want to be that. Doesn't mean you don't love your dad or want to be your dad or want to, like, he provided for the family. It just means that you can have both. Those levers that we get up every morning and bump our head on, we have to start looking around and going, yeah, maybe there's some levers here I could pull to be a better person for myself. And you be a better person for yourself is a secret. You become a better husband. You become a better father. You become happier. Guess what? The people around you are happier too. I call that, I think you define that in the book called A Leader.
Yeah, masculine leadership. This is a powerful quote here. I wasn't building a life for them. I was running away from them.
Yeah.
I think that is an incredibly powerful line that summarizes.
I did it. Yeah. I built 3 physical medicine clinics in 2 states.
How long were you doing that for? Is that like a decade, 2 decades, or?
Well, building clinics or practicing?
Just this phase you just said.
5.5 years.
And I think it probably took somewhere between 6 and 10 years for you to be able to say that sentence, or maybe even up until now.
It's been, yeah, probably. You have to be honest with yourself. What's the closest relationship you'll ever have in your entire life? And they're like, and they'll think about it, and then half of them are like, it's yourself. You go to bed with yourself, you wake up with yourself. You live with yourself all day, unless you have some dissociative personality disorder or schizophrenia. I'm pretty sure you're stuck with yourself 24/7, right? So why lie to yourself? The lack of honesty with yourself is devastating, but it did take a long time. The lack of honesty with self can be devastating.
The lack of integrity with self. I think with this age we're in, that we're talking about earlier around instant gratification, the Uber me, Uber this, Uber date, Uber food, Uber woman, Uber everything, Uber, just everything is so fast. There's so much great stuff happening around us that is instantly gratifying. And I think that has shifted some of our values and weakened our discipline, which we were talking about earlier. And how this relates to integrity is when we set out to do things, but we're so used to the instant, then we fail and we break a little bit of trust with ourselves. We lose integrity with ourselves. And if you do that for years or decades, I think for a lot of people, it's at least a decade since if we just track to when iPhone and smartphones became widely spread. What I'm getting to is, like, I think we have a decade or longer of instant gratification, which has weakened discipline, which has allowed us to break integrity with ourselves. So I'm recently coming out with a challenge called Grounded 30, which is a 5 daily habits that guys need to do, which is like exercise, own a diet, remove vices, journaling, and contribute to community. And these things allow for rebuilding integrity and self-trust, because it's 5 simple tasks that you can do every day and you can cross it off, and it's like, boom, and you can stack that integrity to where at the end of it, or even further, if you continue, I feel that rebuilding integrity with self is a lost thing in men. That's like at the root of a lot of just giving up and quitting so quick on things that naturally just require a lot of work, relationships or building a business or your health. And this is hitting something really big for guys that is underlooked. The integrity, the broken integrity, a decade plus of instant gratification makes it difficult to commit to things that matter.
It's spot on. You know, and I've worked with all facets with our clients, with you, and the brand new fellows that are coming in. When I remember working with them, I said, there's 3 things. This is the advice I would give right out the gate. If anything, Everyone's got their elevator pitch. What's your little elevator pitch? Like the self-talk pitch. It's just try to live with honesty, integrity, and low emotion. I'm a dynamic dude. I know that. I'm all over the road. It's like you think I'm like some secret Italian, talk with my hands on. But honesty and integrity is stuff that people feel. Not just you, but people you communicate with can feel honesty. They can feel integrity. Not to be esoteric and strange, but I was practicing physician for 17 years. There is massive amounts of data that show 90% of communication is nonverbal. 90. If you are communicating with another person, husband, wife, spouse, significant other, neighbor, coworker, employee, and you are not being honest or have some semblance of integrity, the other person can feel it. They may not know what they're feeling, but they can feel a lack of communication. And the person that feels it the most is yourself. When you say that, what the commonality about guys is the discipline comes from just what you stated, getting that personal integrity back. And it's little stuff. And it's, I have one fella on our call that I've had for a very long time. We had a very good dissertation about making the bed. 3 weeks. And I'm talking, we had 20 to 25 guys per call. And in 3 weeks in a row, we had this long conversation. And it took until the third week. He didn't understand what the value of making your bed was. I don't get it. I don't get anything. Who cares? It's just me. And the fella took a very deep dive, but at the end, he's like, I think I get it. There's no value to it at all. And I'm like, no, it's just a discipline. It's your own personal integrity. And it was like this light bulb went off. He's like, wow, son of a gun, that's crazy. Sometimes it just takes that, right? Okay, I'm willing to commit to doing something that gives me no value, no health value, no monetary value, no social value. But the value is that I showed myself I can commit to something and do it. And that in itself is a lesson in personal integrity. I thought that was funny when you said the integrity. It took 3 weeks.
For people listening, like, okay, wait, that's what they're doing in these calls. They're probably like, wait, is this even worth it? There's a book called Make Your Bed by Admiral William McRaven.
Guys, listening, we had folks that are military. We had people screaming David Goggins.
Yeah.
Coming in. So we put a lot of thought into the intellectual horsepower into it. There is so much value appealing it back to what Andrew just said.
This is Admiral William McRaven, who wrote a book called Make Your Bed. And he also gave a commencement speech about making your bed. He wasn't just an admiral out there floating around in an area where nothing was happening. He was the commander for all special operations for the United States and joint special operations. If you look at his track record, he was a Navy SEAL. He was a commander of Navy SEALs. He was the leader of the Navy SEAL training for the West Coast. Like, his track record is at the highest level of what you would consider a badass in the military. This is the person who put together the plan to capture Osama bin Laden. He was in the room with the president while that was happening. Like, his core message at the end of his career, this guy's an older gentleman now. I interviewed him on the podcast as well.
Awesome.
I did interview him on the podcast. And he was very professional, very respectful. And this guy is a complete leader of some of our greatest warriors, definitely for the United States, but potentially in the world.
What I've heard,
and a gentleman, a Texan gentleman. His core message to men was to make your bed. And he even went as far as to write a book about making your bed, because he says, if you can't make your bed, you can't change the world.
Yeah.
You can't change your world. You can't change the world. I don't want to fight next to you. Yeah. You can't even make your bed. I will get killed next to you. It's such a core message from such a leader within the United States military. But drawing onto that point of making your bed, this thing that you're saying is like, it's so simple, yet skipping it is breaking a little bit of integrity with yourself. And so to start the day with making your bed, you're building momentum. A thing that I was going to add that could add some health benefit is a cold shower, which is what I've been doing.
We brought that up.
Yeah.
We veered into that. And he's like, okay, well, cold shower. And
cold shower would have benefit. It is going to wake you up. It's like a shot of espresso. It's painful. It's like really challenging. Yeah. And it's something I've been doing for probably like 7 or 8 years. And I'm not like a masochist. When I'm sick, and it makes sense to take a hot shower, like I'll do that. But for the most part, I'm taking cold showers even during winter. Although I will say I was recently in Boston and Maine, and it's a completely different ball game. This whole time I'm over here on the West Coast preaching to guys, take cold shower, And it is cold here on the West. It is cold East Coast
We're
cold
chilly.
is the whole time. I was like, wow, for the last 7 or 8 years, I get, because they're coming to me like, dude, it's really hard. This is challenging, Andrew. And I'm like, just do it. This is about your future. Stay grounded, be a warrior. And now that I was over there, the cold weather there on the East Coast is a different level of cold shower. Nonetheless, I still did it because I wanted to be in the shoes of the client. But I will say I have a newfound respect for the East Coasters.
Oh, yeah. And I was the same when they
for cold showers.
The 30-day cold shower challenge, I believe we did with our clients.
Yeah.
A client from another coach would come in and we go through different calls, which we have multiple calls with coaches, which are awesome. They would say, I've got a fellow in Manitoba, Northern Canada. He's like, oh, Ron, you don't understand. It's different. That's fine. Being half from Canada and thinking to myself, that's a level of discipline right there to go, well, it's 30 below outside. It's freezing. It's 40 degrees in the house. I'm taking a cold shower. So, but the discipline part, if you can start your day with a positive activity that lends itself to increasing your level of discipline, that's valuable. It's just yours. It's yours alone. It's not like if I shared it with my wife, she would go, oh, that's great, honey. That's okay. Or share it with my neighbor or share it with the guy at work. Okay, well, that's awesome. It's showing yourself. We started this conversation, this podcast about what do you find is missing? It's a level of discipline, because it's when you commit to something and do it, even if it's something small and innocuous as making your bed, taking a cold shower, a little bit more effort required there. But either way, decision internally to do that every day. I think if we could have these good dissertations, and maybe not over 3 weeks of courses with guys, but to see these very small things you do for yourself that provide self-discipline can lend themselves to massive, massive wins, especially for the guys that say, hey, I'm here. I need to get here. Hardest step of the longest journey is the first step, right?
Oh, yeah. The building integrity, daily habits for yourself. You can also create daily habits for your partner. Simple little things for how I'm going to connect and show love to my partner. Little things that you do. I pick her up and spin her and kiss her. I dance with her, even if it's just a minute. Before I get out of bed, I don't just leap out and run off. I kiss her, even if she's asleep. She's really not asleep if you kiss her. She knows you kissed her. But creating daily habits that can add value, rebuild integrity, and be in alignment to your values. You say you love your partner, but there's these things that you're not doing or we're hiding. So I think coming back to the quote here, building a life for my family, I was running away from, was it them or was it my wife or your ex-wife?
You're running away from something that's difficult. I mean, the guys that say, I work hard, I work harder, I work more. I work 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 hours. I come from Northern California. When I lived there for many years in the tech area, and it was almost a badge of honor for these tech guys. I work 90 hours a week, I work 100 hours a week. I sleep under my desk.
Yeah, right.
No, it's not. I mean, I would argue maybe if that's truly your passion, if that is like, this is everything to me, and this is what I love, the number of those people I've met, I could put my palm on my hand. Most of it is, I just have other issues I don't know how to solve. So I figured the best way to do it is to allocate all of my efforts and energy somewhere else, and it will just magically equilibrate. That's the most common. When you say you're running away, I'm going to run away. I don't know how to fix the thing with my wife. My wife's an XYZ and an ADC, and she treats me this way. She does this, and blame, and I don't know how. So I'm going to go over here, I earn money, and I do the right thing. I'm the breadwinner for my kids. And generic kids now don't even know where they play soccer or go to school, which I've seen a lot of those. In all 100% honesty and onboarding, I've had guys who go, hey, what do you value? I don't know. Well, what do you love in life? I don't know. Married 20, 25 years, couple kids. I don't know. My kids aren't even like me. But I'm working hard. That doesn't make the self feel good. You've lost all integrity with yourself. Why did you get married? Why did you have kids? Cognitive dissonance. I'm working hard because I'm working hard for my kids. No, you're not. You're working hard because you're running away.
Is there a part of that where I'm working hard because I want to become more manly? I want to be a great provider. There is value in being a provider, but I think it obviously goes too far. But maybe my relationship will be better if I make more money. I'll be more attractive. She'll want to have sex with me more. Ego, status. These are some darker masculine tendencies that do have value. I'm never going to tell a guy like, hey, don't work hard. Work hard, but understand what we're working hard for. Are we in alignment with what our true values are? For some guys, there might be seasons where, yes, you are going to work. You are going to create. There is an opportunity and you want to seize this opportunity, communicate with the fam, with the girl, with the kids, or whatever. But how much of this is a relationship between wanting to be a man And
Absolutely.
I think universally, the more money, the more resources you have high status, and that might equal more sex or respect from partner, from friends, from peers, from coworkers.
The people furthest away is what give you the illusion of respect and societal increase when your bank account goes from 6 to 7 day figures. I would say that a lot of it's lost. Now, by all means, I like money. Money is a necessary.
100%.
It's not an evil by any stretch. It's a tool.
It is not.
But when you forego every other facet of happiness, thinking that money is the sole source of happiness, you've lost. Your personal integrity is gone. I experienced that when I was younger. I climbed a ladder of success on the bodies, the dead bodies of the rungs underneath.
You've lost, is what you're saying. That's quite powerful.
I've lost.
Do you think that that's a slow journey to get there? There might have been good intentions at the onset of one's journey.
You stated it. If I just don't make my bed today, that's no big deal. This is one day. If I don't make my bed tomorrow, it's just one day. If I cheat on my taxes, it's just one time. If I don't pick my kids up for school, it's just one time. And these one times, these slips in integrity, you start to justify that it's okay. I don't need to do that. I could fill this form out this way. It's fine. No one will find out. I can do this time. No one will know. That's the problem that I keep circling back to. Guys, that person who's the closest interpersonal relationship to anyone you'll ever have in your entire life is you. And when you keep lying to yourself, or you start, which is even worse, because I've been there and I've watched it with my guys I've coached, I've watched it with my patients, with myself. When you start justifying that it's okay to slip up in your levels of personal integrity, you're on this slippery slope to hell.
Yeah. You're digging a hole. You're covering something up with that dirt, but you're slowly going down. It's death by 1,000 cuts with those little just breaks in integrity. I have a real correlation between when I start veering away from a good diet, when I start kind of just introducing some of these new foods that are clearly unhealthy, or if I start drinking more during the week, not socially, but just in the middle of the week, make a cocktail. I added some fruit into it, so it's basically healthy at that point because there's vitamins in it. And you start justifying, you feel like you're some sort of craft cocktail connoisseur. Right. Mm-hmm. Or if you're making money and you're doing these things, you sort of justify, you're like, well, I'm doing good. There's a correlation between the seasons of my life when I'm thriving and the seasons of my life where I'm slowly falling into stagnation. Like, it's not like just this one thing that happens and it's all over. It's like months of stagnation, and then I wake up and I'm like, whoa, how am I in this situation? What happened? And even me being someone who coaches and helps guys, I can start to justify. And it's just like, look, you can't accept breaking integrity with yourself as a part of your life, as a norm, right? There can be, okay, I'm going on a vacation. There can be these things, and perhaps you're living, or I don't know if that's entirely living, but you're experiencing different aspects of life.
My wife and I go on a cruise. It's like, we'll dive to that cruise. It is amazingly clear. There is not a buffet I'm missing. That's true. Not a shadow of a doubt. There is not a woman or person big enough to keep me from every buffet. I feel happy about it because I know I'm just letting it go. Right. But it's that moment when you're like, if it's drinking, you're like, I drank last night, or I'm celebrating, or I'm doing good in X, or I'm doing great in Y, or things suck here. There's justifications for those small lapses in discipline or small lapses in your personal integrity system. That's the stuff. And yet we know it, right? We know it. We see it. We're like, and we just ignore it. That's the part the guys I talk to all the time. They're like, you don't have to be the smartest dude in the room to be like, I probably shouldn't do that. Or I feel not as good, whether it's physically, emotionally, psychologically with stuff. Guys, that's your personal little indicator. That's your little personal white flag dude in there waving the flag. Slow down, change course.
When you have positive habits, you have strong willpower, and you can easily say no to things. But when you're going down into that, the death by 1,000 cuts, you're falling into a season of stagnation. Then let's say I'm out at an awesome party. Everyone's a multimillionaire. Everyone's successful, attractive women. I have my girlfriend. You feel like you've made it in some sense. You feel like you've reached it. And then go into a room and then you see all these attractive people and rich people doing drugs. That's where you have this moment of like, it can be a bit confusing when the guys are multimillionaires, when you're in a mansion, when there's attractive women everywhere. In my experiences, I would engage if I'm in a season of stagnation. And once you go down that path, then it becomes a part of the social identity.
Not social norm, your norm.
It becomes a part of your social identity to then party with successful people, attractive women, to just really splurge and then engage in different substances that enhance the experience.
Totally.
And I felt in those situations, it was difficult to be like, this is wrong when the people around you are very successful people.
I'm in Las Vegas. I'm in
That's
in the party capital of the planet.
Yeah.
My wife owns a modeling business.
Yeah. This is a whole nother episode.
I find myself blessed. I never will argue that I get to hang out with the most beautiful women in the world all the time. But I've also found successful dudes, because there's beautiful women, there's successful dudes.
Yeah.
I have found that boundaries are something that you need to figure out pretty quick. Like, I don't want to do that. Or I really want to do that. I would love to do that. I would really like that. But I can't. Now, what I found that's super powerful with guys that I teach this, not because there's like some social proof I have that's better than anyone else's, but I get to be around this a lot. So I say the social proof of it is, I will tell you, when I walk into a room that's got a ton of beautiful ladies and a ton of successful guys, they're doing stuff and things. And I'm like, no. I said, I would dig that, but I would feel like shit the next day. Sorry. I wouldn't feel great the next day. And the times that I have in the past, I'm like, because it violates my code. It doesn't violate his code or her code. No one cares. No one cares. First thing cares is you. There's such a win. There's a win to that. There is a big win. No one else around you, i.e. your program. There's no one else that's really like, oh, come on, man. As much as they're like, that's cool. I mean, I live in this. They're like, oh, okay. Almost a bigger rush for a to be like, nah, I'm good.
It's the rush of you overcame something right there.
Yes.
And you know where that can go. And if you can continue developing your social man and you continue developing those skills to be able to go out and have a good time while avoiding those substances, that feels really good to just have a good time, have a blast, go home, and then wake up in the morning and actually get after the day. Look, if substances didn't have these hangovers and these health effects, I think the world would end.
That moment where you're like, hey, you didn't beat anything. I can go back next weekend and do this. I can do anything I want. But the idea that it's like a game, man. Integrity and self-discipline becomes like a game, because if you've been down the places we've been, you're down the places where like, I climbed the ladder on the dead bodies underneath my feet. You're like, oh, it didn't make me feel good. Some guys that are brand new probably have to go and do the substances and climb the rungs on the dead bodies, because they're like, yeah, I've got it. I think if you haven't experienced sometimes the other side of that perspective, it's hard to not be like, the long-term wasn't good here.
The long-term is never good with substance abuse. I've never seen a long-term drug addict make it, or at least he might appear okay, but like deep down inside, this guy is miserable. Walking away from substances, I have a history with that in the past. I was very much into social life and networking and just enjoying Southern California and bringing people together, being a leader. And there's a lot of this that is useful to men to become successful, to improve dating life, also to improve relationship, couples, going out with couples and having the right couple friends. It can add to your relationship. It's not going to fix it,
Absolutely.
But it can definitely add to it. You have these fun things you guys are doing. You're actually in alignment with the guys that you're going out with. It's not forced. That world, I went a little too far for a period of time. We're talking about that death by 1,000 cuts, the slow stagnation, where you find yourself in this place where you're like, wow, how did I get in this situation? This is not in alignment, although it's fun. Although I think there are some experiences that I had that are movie worthy. I think like very exciting, fun experiences, but it's not a life though. It's not a life you can continue and be proud of. It's like, I did this thing that was fun. Being in a fraternity, it's like an experience and that's it. I would never try and go back to that. But some guys may need to experience it, but some guys, it may really derail them.
Oh, and absolutely. Actually, your commentary that you said on that is, I deal with this exact scenario, this little box we're in right now. Man, I just drink, I use drugs or porn, I cheated my wife. And these guys are in this, the big self-deprecating, I'm garbage, I'm terrible. You're not judged by your past. Your past is written, it is what it is, it's never changed. You can learn from it and move forward though. That's the powerful part. And guys, I tell them this, guys, you're going to slip up. I'm trying to quit smoking. I have 37 times before I quit smoking. I quit drinking 67 times before I quit drinking. Quit porn, or there is no Superman out there. Just isn't. It's cool in movies. Sometimes we slip. The hard part is to not be so deprecating hard on yourself that you're like, I'm terrible and blah, blah, blah. And it's that self-deprecating activity that might allow, I just might as well just keep doing it. Stupid. Or I'll never get better. Can all change. But the idea, like it does hit some people harder than others. I mean, living here and having guests and people come and then we entertain people, it's like, there's some people you would have never thought that's like, when you say movie experiences, I have catalogs of things where I'm like, would make The Hangover look like Disneyland. And they're real things because then they're like, holy crap, that dude really did go to jail twice in one night, which has happened. But it doesn't make them terrible people. They just realize that maybe that's really not for them. And you talk about the guys that, and this could be partying in Vegas. It could be not getting along with your wife. It could be throwing your entire shoulder into work rather than your relationship. Any of these make these guys go, oh, I'm not, sucks, or they get down on themselves. That's why this program is so valuable. Guys, you can show you a pathway to change. There's a pathway to change, man. I promise you. If I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm not the smartest dude in the room. And again, when I used to say that when I was in physician too, I'm like, you can do this. I did the PM&R work, physical medicine and rehab work. Lots of people hooked on opiates. I saw the opiate problem coming like a effing tidal wave 10 years before it hit us. Everybody did that was in medicine. And now here we are sitting in the biggest fentanyl crisis, killing how many hundreds of thousands of people a year. But those people can change. People that party can change. People that have that I work 80 hours a week rather than taking care of my wife or my kids, but I give them a financial future. I'm doing it for my children. You can still work. You can still make that future, but you can also really put your shoulder in. I do love my wife. If you love yourself and you love your wife, get out and get some help. That's the bravest thing I think anyone could ever do is be like, I don't think I can do this alone. I mean, every successful self-help program out there has some semblance of accountability from somebody else. You could be the most, I just need to excel. I hate that. I really deride those programs. Just excel, just be better. Just stop being a pussy. Come on. At certain times, we're social critters, man. We have to go like, maybe I need a hand here.
What do you mean by that? Like, I hate the just excel, like chase excellence, or like just be better.
Be better. Stop being a pussy. Just get your stuff together and rah, rah, rah. Be good. Be better. You just don't be that way. Don't be a loser. You can be this better man and Superman. How? Just stop being a pussy. No, that doesn't work. Guys that are looking for help need some steps. And I'm not saying that good, bad, or indifferent, but just seeing other guys that have gone through the process, seeing other guys that have walked away, put boundaries in, had the same relative experiences thinking, I can't do this or I'll always be a failure. I'll never be able to be happy with my wife or my marriage or my children or my employees or employer. You can't.
Yeah.
Again, here we go. To personal integrity. You got to put some goals out there that you want. And then you got to get to the discipline to do it every day. And even if it's something as small as making your bed, if you can't make your bed every day, there's a zero possibility you're going to stay on any sort of plan to get yourself out of that position. I'm not saying making the bed's the end all.
Everyone can do it. So it's like everyone has the capacity to do that or take a cold shower, but there might be a task for you that you know that you need to do. I put together this Grounded 30 challenge at grounded30.com where it's, I think, the foundation for guys where they can really change, even if they're kind of already sort of doing this, is fitness, is diet, is removing vices. And if you can't remove all your vices, because everyone has a vice. A vice is something that stunts your growth. A vice is something that holds you back from accomplishing, like living in alignment, accomplishing your goals. It's stunting your progress. That could be the workaholic. That could be obvious ones like alcohol, social media, porn, drugs. It could be women. It could be so many things that are just holding you back and it's derailing you. But even if you just remove one or two, like that would be huge because we're talking things that may have been in your life for years or decade plus.
What is that analogy? Rocks in the backpack?
Exactly. Journal about your values and vision. That could just be a few minutes, which is what my journaling prompt is. And then contribute to a community of like-minded men, which is there's a community with Grounded 30. Grounded 30 is free. You can just join and I'm in there and I'm helping guys rebuild integrity with themselves with 5 simple daily habits that make you feel great. What's good about this is it's not like, will this work for me? There's really not a question of if you would find benefit from this. There's zero question of like, will this work for me? I'm not sure if this applies to me. Everyone will have a physical, mental, spiritual gain at zero cost is what I've done, which is insane because the current thing that we offer is thousands of dollars, which is absolutely more than worth it. And it's also a year long. This is Grounded 30 days. But I just thought, how can I create something that would be available to everyone? Because we get so many guys applying. Sometimes they can't make the jump to like really commit, and or they don't have the funds. So I'm like, how can I just get rid of that? And so that's what Grounded 30 is. So people who want to challenge themselves, to me, I view it as an initiation, because it's like, if you can do that, then let's talk. Like, first, just do that. Just do this. Let's get your power back. And then let's talk. Because really, your battle, so many things come up with guys as they start the challenge. The insecurities, the beliefs, a lot of the excuses, they really get a good view of how unaligned they are. You were in chiropractic, right? Like, people they're out of alignment. They're out of alignment when they come to you and they're in pain. You help them get in alignment.
But they also didn't know. That's the analogous to,
okay.
Like, I'm okay. I got a little thing here. And 2 weeks later, they're like, holy crap. I rebelled in that, to be honest. I had not know I was that messed up. Huh. Not that I just want to say I told you so, because you can't say that, but it's like you and I, we work with guys all the time. They're like, oh, I'm fine. And then you look through their stuff, you're like, holy moly, this is like a rolling dumpster fire. But you can't tell them that, buddy. You're a rolling dumpster fire. But then when you put the dumpster fire out, they're like, wow, man, I was really messed up, Ron. Huh, what did I thought?
Yeah, it's like while they were digging a hole, being out of integrity, it's like they kind of built a hole like a little animal. They build these little holes and hide. Yeah. And then they end up turning that hole into a comfort zone and get used to this hole that they might be in, unaware that they're in a hole.
And they'll tell you sometimes they're on the top of the world, not in a hole. That's their own perspective. That's the perspective that I've watched with people coming through our program.
That makes them feel okay with it, or they've been lying to themselves even.
They're justified. Again, it's that personal integrity. I don't know. Like my wife, she's just, the outward blaming other folks, blaming other people. They did it to me. She did it to me. He's mean. She's bad. That sucks. World sucks. Things are hard. Uber Eats didn't show up. Car broke down. Stupid car. We never maintained it for 40,000 miles or whatever. But then all of a sudden they start to gain that personal responsibility and integrity back. Because we can't make them see that by default. Exercise will feel better. Meditate, you'll mentally feel better. Emotionally feel better. It's not like, will it work? If you do the work, it works. It's by default. It's like the light switch. If you have a good electrician, you turn that on, I'm 99% sure light goes on. You got to make that effort and flip the switch.
It's something that everybody can do. I think that they should do some level of daily disciplines that put them into a state where they have their power. I feel like I opened up this call with a lot of things going on, a lot of different challenges that may be impacting. Layoffs are a huge thing that we're seeing with guys that historically had good jobs, guys who were working at big tech and guys who had high-level six-figure positions, sort of living in this fear of like, I just got laid off, or I fear that I'm getting laid off. Cost of living increasing post-pandemic and housing prices. A lot of different, I'll call it like just the weight of living has been placed on men. And there was already a weight on men, crushing it and being successful and being attractive, ensuring that you have all your buckets of life together, right? Like your health, your wealth, your spiritual, all these different things, your social life, your romantic life. It's like, oh my gosh. And the ability to find solutions for all of them are all available. We're talking about different levers, and this can feel like this weight. And that weight, if we don't do anything or we're living out of alignment, we're hiding, that weight, I feel, really reduces or diminishes the masculine power of a man to where he starts to become more feminized and accepting of his life situation and just starting to settle. And there's less striving, more of how do I just maintain this safety net that I built and not lose, and just holding on to this. I'll ask, what are we holding on to? Is it even what we want? What is it that we're holding on to? So I feel the time we're in now, I feel like there's just a loss of masculine power. And then I think it's given birth to what you were sharing about certain guys who might just be like, stop being a pussy, and like just kind of like extreme.
Red pill, blue pill.
Yeah, extreme type of masculine type of energy to then compensate for this pain that a lot of guys might be experiencing over time. A lot of guys feel like maybe they've lost their power and they're settling today.
1 out of 5 guys, I'll have them look up the word capitulation. I'm like, huh? I said, you just give up. I'm like, no, look it up. And then they'll come back like, huh? You just fold into it. I guess this is the way it is. Guys, that's letting society dictate you. And again, this is another podcast altogether, but there's a saying that I like to live by, and it's just me, myself. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees, serve on my knees. I want to be my own man. In order to be my own man, I had to get honest with myself. I want to be my man. I don't need to be somebody for somebody else. I gave that up. I tried it, got the t-shirt, didn't work. I don't need to go impress anyone. I needed to impress me, but truly me. If it's out BB stacking and riding bikes, that's great. If it's out making tons of money and not having kids, that's great. If it's out there having tons of kids and living in a van down by the river, that's great. But if it's really me, that's me. And boy, I will tell you, all those guys, whether it's the van down by the river making tons of money with no kids, or the happy family with, 2.2 kids and a white picket fence, the guys that are doing it for themselves for the right reason, they've got they're happy people, they're grounded people, they have happy spouses, significant others, kids, and lives. But it started with their personal integrity and living in alignment, like you said, alignment with themselves. They weren't cognitively dissonant, being, oh, I'm just doing this for the kids. No, you're not. You're miserable. You're out of alignment, just like chiropractically, you're out of alignment with, it's not what you really want. Find out what you really want and go live that way. It's going to be hard. Yeah. I might fail. Yeah. What's the alternative? You're living it right now.
Yeah. What would you say would be an action item for the guys listening, or something that they can do?
You know what it's going to be.
What, make your bed? Make your bed.
Find a thing. I love this history. Seneca, Aristotle. I love it. It's the bedrock of some of my modern judicial system, but it's got some cool things because history does repeat itself. Just find a singular activity or action that brings you some semblance of happiness, joy, or contentment, and do that. Simple. Make your bed. Make coffee for your spouse every morning. Take a cold shower. But it's got to be something for you. One thing. I did a challenge with my guys here several months ago, and I said, for one full day, go through the house, your office, everything, and if you see something that needs to be done, stop and do it. You're like, what? Well, just stop and do it. Dishes in the sink, do them. Clothes in the dryer, fold them. Kids' bike in the driveway, put it away. It doesn't matter if it's your problem or not. If you see something that needs to be done, just go do it. And these guys came back like, Ron, why did you do that to me? I'm like, I didn't do anything. But they're like, it's valuable. Dishes are here, I'm going to put it away. Bed's there, I'll make it. All of a sudden, it was like this, I guess those little things like you stated, and I know we breezed over them a couple times, these little tiny things that show yourself, your integrity and your ability to complete simple tasks, man, it's magnified exponentially in life if you continue to. That'd be my challenge.
Really good. I'll tell guys, just check out grounded30.com where you can join the challenge. It's really powerful, simple things that you can do daily to rebuild integrity and to get back in alignment and to build momentum. It's an initiation into the world of knowledge for men, and it's no cost for the first 30 days. There's really nothing at all here to lose. There's a membership platform. There's a private community, and it's not on a Facebook group. It's its own social platform that was built out for this. I think that this could be a movement is what I think. And I could see there being, right now there's dozens, but I think there will be hundreds, and I could see there being thousands of guys doing this, because if thousands of guys were doing this, I think it has the capacity to have a real impact on the world, on men, and to get guys in alignment, in integrity, and building momentum towards what matters to them in life at no cost.
No cost too. And the world teachers, guys.
Grounded30.com.
Right on.